Hi everyone, welcome to Cache Walks.
We're in Rotorua at the moment and we're about to head out of the city to GC45.
Yeah, it's the first geocache outside of the United States and the first one in New Zealand.
So come with us to see this really interesting piece of geocaching history. We headed out of town to a forested area to see if we could find where GC45 had been placed. We passed the blue sign to the rest area. We're going to do two things here. We're going to find the original location for GC45, which has now been archived, of course, and we're also going to solve a puzzle cache called Tribute to GC45.
We worked out the coordinates for the Tribute cache with help from Urban Gypsy NZ, so thanks a lot Urban Gypsy NZ. Second letter in word equals Y. Y equals...
Before heading off to find the final of the Tribute cache, we put in the coordinates for GC45. Although the cache was archived, the cache page still exists, so you can go and get the coordinates to find the exact location. The cache page is interesting because it has a list of swag that was first put in the cache. A plaque is going to be placed at this location shortly to commemorate GC45, and there are some geocoins, which are little miniatures of the plaque, which are for sale right now.
Then we track to the coordinates of GC45. It's 57 metres in the blackberries in the distance.
As you can see, there are an awful lot of blackberries still around here, and this is where Peter McKellar hid GC45, right in the middle of a blackberry bush.
Then it was on to find the final of the Tribute cache. Put a little kiwi in there. And I've got back. Alright, sanitize my hands again. Becoming a bit of a pattern this, isn't it? Still, it's got to be done. There we go, easy.
We then headed into the city to meet the cache owner of GC45. We're outside McLeod's bookshop in Rotorua, and we're going to go inside and have a chat to Peter McKellar, the guy who put out GC45 all those years ago. So come in and we'll have a chat with him. We're in Rotorua at the moment with Peter McKellar, and Peter is the gentleman who put out the first geocache in New Zealand, and of course it was the first geocache outside the United States, Peter.
Yeah, so, I didn't realise that. I thought it was only the Southern Hemisphere at the time. So.
Right. So he's very kindly said he would answer a few questions. So the first question is, how did you find out about geocaching all those years ago?
Well, I was I was interested in recreational GPS through my I did a lot of tramping, and I actually saw a guy had a GPS on a search and rescue operation that I was on, and it was very useful and it worked very well in the pouring rain, and certainly changed my impression of where we actually were. You know, when you saw it on the GPS, it was there. We hadn't gone as far as we thought we had and things like that. Spoke to the guy about it and he said, well, I don't have a GPS because I don't know. It's not because I don't know where I am, it's because I'm interested in where I am. And that was the cue for me. I went and got myself a GPS. And then I had to work out how to use it and things. And I found in those days we didn't have websites so much as news groups. They were a separate internet thing.
Yes, I remember them.
And I can't remember what it was called, but there was a news group about people who were using GPSs, and that was just after. And then when selective availability was taken off by Bill Clinton, this chap somewhere in Seattle came up with this idea of having a cache of, they didn't call it a geocache or anything at the time. It was having a little, I can't remember what they
Called
called
a
it.
stash.
Stash or something like that.
Yes.
Have a bucket. Was basically the idea was a bucket, and you'd have things in it, little gifts that you could put in it, just freebies and things. And even remember suggesting you get a sponsor to put movie tickets or big prizes or something. Those great ideas. And put it somewhere, and he set up a couple of these and caused great excitement. And I had a friend in Rotorua here, Peter Dare, who had a GPS similar to mine. So I had this idea I'd set one up. I vaguely remember thinking this is a bit ridiculous because nobody's ever going to come by and find us. And I went out one afternoon, set this thing up in a bucket, and a few things I put in there. I can't even remember what I put in, but obviously there was a bottle of beer, I'm sure. There was a few CDs, and I know there were particular musical CDs that I was sick of. There was a notebook to note where for people could lock their finds in there. Yeah. But it was a big, sort of thing you buy for 99 cents at the warehouse. And I went out in the car and it was raining, and I had an idea of putting it in a little scenic reserve up on Waimangu Road. But when I got there, I couldn't really access it very easily without I was feeling a bit self-conscious. So I thought a farmer at the farmhouse was nearby, might be watching and wondering what I was doing. So I thought I'd pass on that one, and I was on my way back home again. And suddenly I pulled into a little rest area at the side of the road, went down the back and found a big blackberry bush and buried this thing in the blackberry bush.
It's making it tough.
Which is a bit mean, but it certainly was out of sight, and then I went back and logged it on the site and caused a bit of a flurry. Oh gosh, they're even doing it in here. I think people around the world were starting to catch on. They were further different places about that time. It was Peter, I gave him a challenge, and he did actually apparently find the cache.
Oh, so someone found it?
He found it, but he didn't log it.
Oh, no.
So I think there was a facility to log it on the site, but he didn't. So that was a bit unfortunate. And then I was going by another time. I thought, I'll check up on it. And I went in there and found there was the bucket lying on the ground, and everything was gone from it. So that got muggled.
Yes.
So that was the end of that cache. But I did set another one up on the Degree Confluence Point. They called them. They still talk about divine caches. It was the idea came in a divine cache.
I can't remember that. No.
On which would be on a point of latitude and longitude.
Right. I'm sure they probably still have them, but
there was one within about. There's always one within about 20 or 30 kilometres of wherever you are on the world. So I decided it was one of these looked reasonably accessible, and I went up with my son and a friend, and we found our way to this point, and I put one in there. But I don't know whatever became of that. I haven't heard any more.
Well, thanks, Peter. That's very interesting. And just to say thank you, we'd like to give you this.
Oh my goodness!
It's a GeoCoin.
Oh yeah.
To commemorate the plaque that's going in for GC45.
Oh, lovely.
So it just comes out of there.
Yeah. I've got my glasses on, so.
And it has a cache
GC
number on it, and it's just a miniature of the bigger plaque that's going in there in a short time.
Oh, great.
That's just from us to say thank you for
thank
talking
you very
to
much.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So is the plaque going, will it be visible from the road, or do you...
it'll be in the parking rest area.
It will be in there,
yeah.
sort of thing.
It can't go quite into where the actual cache was, where you put it, because it's a working forest. And,
yes.
They've
but
asked
it's within
the plaque stays out in the...
Yeah.
Yes, it's only a few metres away.
Oh, that's amazing. I was actually a bit embarrassed about where it is. I'm kind of... I wish I'd picked somewhere that was a little bit more scenic, a little bit more attractive, and would Rotorua, but I remember definitely thinking nobody's ever going to find it, never ever going to come by here, and nobody who would know about caching. The name geocaching only came later on. And,
yes.
So I can't remember. I think we called it just a GPS treasure hunt or something like that.
That's right. And stashes, things like that. So, yes, and now it's famous.
It is, yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our cache walk. We hope you enjoyed that little bit of geocaching history. Thanks for watching.
And don't forget to go geocaching.